What was that? What in the hell was that? This is not hyperbole. This is not an exaggeration. I am not saying this to be inflammatory. I am 100% serious. On a professional level, or in the case of the WNBA, a semi-professional level, the Chicago Bravado are one of, if not, the worst team I have ever seen. I have been watching professional basketball for decades. This is easily one of the worst teams I've ever seen.
But the Indiana Fever, as I did a video reaction last night right after the game, absolutely dismantled the Chicago Sky. And a lot of today's focus is on the player that everybody, at least her fan base, and the WNBA too, and ESPN until this past week, all complicit.
We have to talk about this. She's just not that good. Like, she's just not that.
Have you ever witnessed a scenario where a team's attempt to play mind games ended up as a spectacular own goal live for everyone to see?
Annihilation, cremation, whatever you want to call it, roasting, sauteed, whatever your form of cooking may be, and or fireworks, fire play, I don't know. But the Indiana Fever, as I did a video reaction last night right after the game, absolutely dismantled the Chicago Sky. And a lot of today's focus.
What if a player, built up by relentless hype to be a titan of their sport, delivered a performance so muted, so bafflingly quiet, it left fans and critics alike scratching their heads, especially when the stakes were sky high?
She was allergic to easy buckets. That's how I knew she was different. She never met a layup she couldn't miss. She was the best. The reason we watching women's basketball is not because of one person. It's because of me too. She had that Kobe confidence, but instead of that Mamba, she had that dog. Woof, woof, woof. But that dog couldn't hoop either. Oh hell no, you could not stop her confidence. Her layup? Yes. Her confidence? No, bitch. I get rebounds. You don't get to her level of greatness without sacrifice. And she sacrificed every goddamn layup. I mean, she's doing it right now. One time I'm telling her, you know you can make that. And she goes, but should I? Genius. Genius. You missed 100% of the shots you don't take. She proved you can miss 100% of the shots you do take. You heard of the greats like Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. Angel Reese is up there with them. You got me. I'm just trying to hit. I'm trying to hit. You got me. You got me.
We are about to dissect a particular night of professional basketball that promised intense rivalry, but instead delivered a masterclass in how pregame taunts can curdle into on-court humiliation, exposing some deeply uncomfortable truths about image versus reality.
Television. The eyes of the sports world were focused on Angel Reese and the WNBA, and Angel Reese once again proved why no one is watching her. Angel Reese once again proved she is nowhere near Caitlin Clark's level. Her performance was absolutely.
The strange, unsettling atmosphere of that evening began to brew well before the opening tip-off, signaled by a seemingly minor detail that in retrospect spoke volumes about the underlying tensions. The official game report, distributed by the Chicago Sky, featured a peculiar alteration to a name recognized globally within basketball circles, Caitlin Clark. Her first name was rendered with a Y, not an I. This wasn't just a simple typo overlooked in haste, it's a specific misspelling frequently used by online detractors, a kind of coded, passive-aggressive insult. In the highly charged environment surrounding these two teams, it felt less like an accident and more like a deliberate, provocative jab. This subtle act of apparent disrespect seemed to be an opening salvo from an organization perhaps more preoccupied with psychological gamesmanship than with the immediate challenge of the upcoming contest, hinting at a misplaced focus. It was as if the Sky organization was telegraphing an insecurity, more rattled by the aura of Clark, even in her conspicuous absence from the game, than they would ever publicly admit. But this initial symbolic gesture was merely the ominous prelude to a much larger, more tangible on-court unraveling. When the game finally commenced, the spotlight naturally fell upon Angel Reese, the Chicago Sky's heralded star, with the expectation that she would decisively carry her team against an Indiana Fever squad notably missing its biggest attraction. What transpired, however, was a performance from Reese that can only be characterized as shockingly subdued, almost a non-event from an offensive standpoint. 4 points. That was the entirety of her scoring contribution. This meager total came on a grim 2 of 7 shooting from the field, a statistic made worse by a couple of missed layups that, for a player of her caliber, should have been routine conversions. She also saw her shot emphatically blocked on 2 occasions. Compounding the offensive struggles, Reese turned the ball over 3 times, painting a picture of inertia and ineffectiveness at a time when her team was desperately crying out for leadership and offensive spark. This wasn't just an off night, it was a disappearing act. Delving into the advanced analytics of that particular game reveals an even more startling insight into Angel Reese's actual impact, or rather, lack thereof, while she was on the court. She concluded the game with a plus-minus rating of -20. For those less familiar with this metric, it means that during her 26 minutes of play, her team was outscored by a significant 20 points. But the truly jarring part of this statistic emerges when you look at the team's performance when she was off the court. In the 14 minutes Reese spent on the bench, the Chicago Sky were outscored by only 7 points. The raw implication is undeniable and deeply uncomfortable for her supporters. The team was substantially less bad, almost managing to hold their ground comparatively when their supposed star player was watching from the sidelines. This wasn't some isolated statistical anomaly confined to this single disastrous night either. A discernible pattern had been emerging throughout the season, suggesting the Sky often struggled to find any consistent offensive or defensive rhythm when Reese was in the game. It forces one to ask a shocking question. Could a team actually be systematically hindered by the very player around whom they've ostensibly built their future? While Reese visibly struggled and her team faltered, the commentary booth seemed to be narrating an entirely different contest, one that appeared to exist more within their pre-scripted talking points than in the stark reality unfolding live on the court. It was almost surreal to listen to the broadcast as the commentators seemed bizarrely, almost obsessively fixated on Caitlin Clark, the very player who wasn't even present in the arena that night. A persistent narrative quickly took hold, that the Indiana Fever were somehow playing better, more fluid, and liberated basketball without their superstar. They would highlight an isolated pass here, a specific cut there, as definitive proof of this supposed improvement. Yet, the hard facts contained within the official stat sheet painted a dramatically different picture. The Fever, in this supposedly unburdened state, actually committed their season high in turnovers. By most objective measures, they were significantly sloppier and less focused than usual. Players like Dana Bonner were lauded by the commentators for coming alive, yet Bonner herself shot a mere 2 of 6 from the field and registered as a -1 in a game her team won by 30 points. Ironically, the Fever outscored their opponents by a whopping 28 points during the 21 minutes she wasn't on the floor. The irony was almost palpable. The broadcast team lavished praise on the Fever's allegedly improved play while largely glossing over the Chicago Sky's complete and utter defensive collapse against an opponent missing not only its best player, but also its head coach. It felt like a concerted, almost desperate effort to push a pre-approved storyline, irrespective of the inconvenient truths presented by the on-court evidence. This noticeable disconnect between the relentless hype that consistently surrounds Angel Reese and her recent on-court production has evolved into a growing, perplexing riddle for many basketball analysts and fans. Numerous observers have pointed to what appears to be a significant regression in several key areas of her game since her much-lauded rookie season. Her decision-making with the ball has appeared questionable at critical junctures. Her once reliable and versatile defense has shown concerning lapses in concentration and effort, and her finishing ability around the rim, previously considered a cornerstone of her offensive arsenal, has become alarmingly inconsistent. This isn't merely a sophomore slump, it's a puzzling erosion of fundamental skills that once made her such a promising and exciting prospect. Despite these increasingly visible struggles on the court, the prevailing media narrative often continues to portray her as an untouchable, almost transcendent elite talent, rarely subjecting her performances to the kind of intense critical scrutiny that other high-profile players routinely face. Even her involvement in the unrivaled 3-on-3 league became a point of curious discussion, with reports suggesting she was not even present for her team's championship-clinching victory due to travel commitments. Yet this was frequently spun as another significant triumph to bolster her resume.